O eternal and almighty God, from whom all power and wisdom come, we are assembled here before thee to frame such laws as may tend to the welfare and prosperity of our province. Grant, O merciful God, we pray thee, that we may desire only that which is in accordance with thy will. We may seek it with wisdom and know it with certainty, accomplish it perfectly, for the glory and honor of thy name and for the welfare of all our people. Amen. We acknowledge we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory, and that Manitoba is located on the treaty territories and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Anishinaabeg, Dakota Oete, Dene Sulene, and Neothorg nations. We acknowledge Manitoba is located on the homeland of the Red River Métis. We acknowledge northern Manitoba includes lands that were and are the ancestral lands of the Inuit. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration. Please be seated. Routine proceedings, introduction of bills. The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, seconded by the Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning, the Bill number 2, the Non-Consensual Distribution of Intimate Images Amendment Act, be now read for a first time.
Thank you. And moved by the Honourable Minister of Justice, seconded by the Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning, that Bill number 2, the Non-Consensual Distribution of Intimate Images Amendment Act, be now read a first time. The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm pleased to rise in the House today to introduce Bill 2, the Non-Consensual Distribution of Intimate Images Amendment Act. This bill will address the legislative changes that were recommended in the report following the comprehensive 5-year review of the Act, as Manitoba continues to demonstrate leadership by strengthening the Non-Consensual Distribution of Images Act. The bill will better protect persons who have had their intimate images distributed without their consent, or who fear that their intimate images are about to be distributed. The amendments will strengthen the Act by promoting the protection of women, girls, and those most vulnerable in our society by supporting key initiatives in the Manitoba Safer Neighbourhoods, Safer Downtowns public safety strategy, as well as the Minoac-Aquayak strategy and Canada's framework, to address gender-based violence. I'm pleased to present this bill to the House for its consideration.
Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the amendment? Agreed and so ordered. The motion is accordingly passed. The Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli.
I move, seconded by the member for Borderland, that Bill 210, the Criminal Trespassers Act and amendments to the Occupiers Liability Act, be now read a first time.
Moved by the Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli, seconded by the Honourable Member for Borderland, that Bill number 210, the Criminal Trespassers Act and amendments to the Occupiers Liability Act, be now read a first time. The Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli.
This act will make changes to the law governing civil claims for damages made by criminal trespassers against occupiers of premises. It aims to protect property occupiers from civil liability for injuries or death of individuals ages 12 and older who trespass with the intent of committing a crime. Occupiers will be held liable for their actions that are willfully or grossly disproportionate, i.e. so you can not have any booby traps on your property. The Act also amends the Limitations Act to pause the limitation period for claims against occupiers until any related criminal charges are resolved. Other provinces have implemented similar measures to protect property owners from liability involving criminal trespassing. Honourable Speaker, this bill balances the right of property owners while preventing and denouncing vigilantism and acts on the innocent. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed and so ordered. The motion is accordingly passed. The honourable member for Swan River.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, seconded by the member for Riding Mountain, that Bill 215, the Wildlife Amendment Act, be now read for a first time.
Been moved by the honourable member for Swan River, seconded by the honourable member for Riding Mountain, that Bill number 215, the Wildlife Amendment Act, be now read a first time. The honourable member for Swan River.
Honourable Speaker, I rise today as a proud hunter and conservationist to introduce a bill that targets those who break the law and threaten Manitoba's protected wildlife species. Bill 215 proposes to increase statutory fines for the illegal killing of protected species in our province. Strengthening these penalties will send a clear message to poachers that we take the conservation of our wildlife seriously in Manitoba. It will also bring our penalties in line with those in other Western provinces. I urge my colleagues to support this bill and join me in educating Manitobans about responsible hunting practices and protecting the wildlife we hold dear to our heritage and our shared way of life. Thank you.
Well done.
Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed and so ordered. The motion is accordingly passed. Committee reports. Tabling of reports. Ministerial statements. The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. As Minister of Justice and Attorney General for the province of Manitoba, I am proud to proclaim the week of November 16th to the 22nd, 2025 as Restorative Justice Week in our province. Restorative justice is a vital part of our justice system and a vital part of the work that we do in cooperation with our community partners. Restorative justice recognizes that crime affects individuals, it affects families, and it affects whole communities, and that there are often more effective ways to address these matters. Restorative justice is not only a more collaborative approach, but also a more impactful approach in which individuals are held to account for their actions. As a result, those who get through a restorative justice program are much less likely to reoffend than those who go through the mainstream justice system, and we know that their cases are processed faster. This year marks a significant milestone for our province. This is, in fact, the 10th anniversary of the Restorative Justice Act, a groundbreaking piece of legislation that positioned Manitoba then as a national leader in restorative justice. Over the past decade, we've witnessed tremendous growth and an enhanced collaboration, as well as the transformative impact of restorative justice practices in communities across this great province. While there's still work to be done to expand the scope and capacity of our restorative justice system, we can be proud of the meaningful change that it has brought to our communities. The theme for this year's Restorative Justice Week, Inspiring Collaboration, Igniting Social Change, reflects our ongoing commitment to building those key partnerships that support reconciliation and reduce repeat offending. During this week, I encourage all Manitobans to take part in the events and conversations that are happening across our province and to recognize the dedicated individuals and organizations who continue to advance restorative justice across our province. It's together that we can build safer communities all across our province. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Today I rise to recognize Restorative Justice Week. This year's theme invites us to reflect on the work that has brought us to this moment and to recommit ourselves to building a justice system rooted not in fear and punishment, but healing, accountability, and community. Our province holds the stories of generations, stories of conflict, of resilience, and of renewal. We are reminded that justice cannot be understood only through courtrooms and sentences, but justice must live in our relationships, our communities, and our shared responsibilities to one another. Honourable Speaker, restorative justice teaches us that harm is not just a legal matter, but it's a human matter. When harm occurs, it ripples through families, through communities, and through the lives of both victims and those who caused the harm. It asks us to listen to those who have been wounded and to support those who must take responsibility. It asks us to repair, to rebuild, and to restore. In Manitoba, the importance of this approach is very clear. As we raise awareness about practices that seek to mend what has been broken rather than simply punish what has been done, it encourages Manitobans to learn, to engage, and to support methods that build a safer, more compassionate, and friendly Manitoba. Restorative justice is not a soft alternative. It's a courageous one that centers on the voices of the victims, people, and the communities. And most importantly, one that urges our government to truly listen to Manitobans by holding people accountable in meaningful ways, and also create space for transformation, actions, transparency, and not just penalties and statistics. We also recognize the work and efforts of individuals, community-based organizations, police services, and various others like Restorative Justice Association of Manitoba in promoting peace and justice. Restorative justice may not be appropriate in every circumstance, but where it is appropriate, it can be beneficial to the communities, to the victims, the transgressors, and society as a whole. May we move forward not only with recognition, but with responsibility to protect, to listen, to support, and to shape the future where every person is valued, where harm is addressed with honesty and humanity, and where healing is always possible. Thank you.
Member statements. The Honourable Member for the Paul-Kamisak.
Honourable Speaker, Kinanaskumutin, today I rise to honour a truly extraordinary group whose music and compassion have supported families across Manitoba for more than 2 decades, the Russell Cook Memorial Singers. This group has travelled from community to community, Opaskwack Cree Nation, Moose Lake, Easterville, Cross Lake, Grand Rapids, and even into Saskatchewan, answering calls for help during some of life's most difficult times. Whenever there is a family grieving, they show up offering comfort through the power of song. Music has a way of connecting us to one another and even to loved ones who have passed on. And the Russell Cook Memorial Singers embody that truth with every gathering they attend. At the heart of this ministry, Michael Jebb Jr., Norman Cook Sr., Don Melnick, Howard Constant, and Lisa McCorster. These dedicated individuals carry forward the legacy of Russell Cook through their voices, their presence, and their deep commitment to the community. Anyone who has walked into a church hall late at night during a wake and heard their hymns knows the comfort they bring. Their music filled the room with strength, warmth, and a sense of togetherness at a time when family needed the most. Their blend of traditional and contemporary music honors the cultural practices of the Indigenous communities they serve and help provide healing in moments of profound loss. The Russell Cook Memorial Singers are more than just musicians. They are caretakers of culture, community, and compassion. Their work straightens bonds, preserves tradition, and reminds families that they are not alone. I ask all members of this House to join me in recognizing and thanking the Russell Cook Memorial Singers for their years of service, their compassion, and their continued commitment to lifting up communities across Manitoba. Egwese.
The Honourable Member for Morden Winkler.
Honourable Speaker, I'm honoured to highlight 2 manufacturers that make a big impact in my community of Morden Winkler. In woodworking, strength comes from the wood grain, and the same is true of the communities built around it. Decor Cabinets has been a pillar of Morden since 1977, growing under Stan Paul's from a small shop into 2 production facilities and a showroom with over 500 employees. Decor fosters a workplace grounded in respect and opportunity and has raised over $1.7 million for local nonprofit groups with their charity classic. Elias Woodwork, led by Ralph Fair, operates in Morden Winkler, producing high-quality wood products for Canada and the U.S. Their 400,000 square foot facility supports 470 employees and demonstrates a deep community roots. Together, Decor Cabinets and Elias Woodwork do more than shape wood. They shape opportunities, support families, and strengthen our community and our economy. As we celebrate these successes, we must also confront challenges in Manitoba's manufacturing sector, especially woodworking manufacturing. Rising tariffs and global uncertainty threaten these businesses. They need our support. I challenge the NDP government to stand up for our manufacturers and the manufacturers in my community. The Premier must take this seriously because the stakes are high. Many manufacturers are not sleeping at night. They worry about keeping their doors open. They worry about their employees and their families amid tariff instability. We must do better. The NDP government must do better. Our businesses, manufacturers, workers, and communities are counting on it. Please join me in thanking the Manitoba manufacturers and businesses owners that are watching here online today. Thank you for your dedication to your community, businesses, and contributing to our economy. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Sport, Culture, Heritage and Tourism.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Today I rise in recognition of National Addictions Awareness Week to praise the Bruce Oak Recovery Centre and their remarkable Snow Angel program, a gesture of service that warms hearts even on the coldest days in Winnipeg. The Bruce Oak Recovery Centre was founded in memory of Bruce Oak, offering a 16-week residential program rooted in person-centered care, evidence-based therapies, and community connection. Their mission is simple yet profound: to help individuals reclaim their lives and return to their families and communities with purpose and hope. Every participant is there by choice and carries a commitment to change, with the belief that healing is sustained by the bonds we build together. That philosophy shines through the Snow Angel program. Each winter, Bruce Oak participants volunteer to shovel snow for elderly neighbors and those with mobility challenges, quietly and without expectation of recognition. When homeowners aren't home, they leave a small flyer about recovery supports, turning a simple act of kindness into a lifeline of hope. For those who are home, gratitude often comes in the form of hot chocolate and cookies, and even more so through honest conversations around what it means to heal and what we owe to each other. Honourable Speaker, imagine what it means to wake up each day determined to rebuild your life. These volunteers have walked through hardship, faced moments when hope felt distant, and still choose to give back. Each day they step out into the cold with shovels in hand, ready to spend time with the community and build bonds of trust that grow into a source of shared strength for everyone. Every clear driveway is a path toward community, compassion, and second chances. I ask my colleagues to join me in applauding the Bruce Oak Recovery Centre and their Snow Angels for reminding us that even in winter, warmth is something we can create together.
The Honourable Member for Lac du Bonnet.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, in the Lac du Bonnet constituency, this year shines bright with some of the exciting events that allow everyone to celebrate and enjoy the upcoming season. The holiday season is a time for joy and connection, and local craft sales are perfect for celebrating this spirit. The Christmas craft sale in Beausejour on November 7th and 8th offered unique handmade gifts from beautiful decorations to tasty treats, supporting local artisans. Following this, the Lac du Bonnet craft sale on November 15th continued the celebration, featuring one-of-a-kind treasures that carry special meaning. These are wonderful opportunities to find those unique gifts and embrace the festive spirit. On November 21st, tomorrow, Christmas on Park in Beausejour will transform the streets into a winter wonderland. With festive lights, cheerful music, and activities for families, this event creates an inviting atmosphere. Delicious food and fun games bring neighbors together, fostering community spirit and creating cherished memories. Of course, Honourable Speaker, once again, the CP Holiday Train stops in Whitemouth on December 3rd, and the Whitemouth Lions Club and the local firefighters help to make it a memorable stop on the circuit yet once again. Finally, Honourable Speaker, the CPTC races, the Canadian Power Toboggan Championships, from December 12th to 14th in Beausejour add excitement to the holiday season. Racing enthusiasts and families can enjoy the thrill of the races together. Hopefully we get a little bit of snow, Honourable Speaker. The lively atmosphere creates a unique opportunity to experience the festive season in a memorable way. The Lac du Bonny constituency offers a wealth of events which will make the Christmas and holiday season truly unforgettable. I ask my colleagues to stand up and thank those volunteers who are watching today.
The honourable member for Kirkfield Park. So, the honourable member for Lac du Bonny.
You, Honourable Speaker, I just ask that the names of some of the many volunteers are recorded into answered. Thank you.
The honourable member for Kirkfield Park.
Today is Transgender Day of Remembrance, a solemn day to honor the lives of transgender and gender diverse people lost to violence, discrimination, and despair. Each year we remember not only those taken from us, but also the systemic conditions that make our community unsafe. Across Canada, trans people continue to face targeted political attacks. In Alberta, Premier Daniel Smith's government has invoked the notwithstanding clause to advance the most horrific and harmful legislation that would ban gender-affirming health care for trans youth. These treatments are recognized by the Canadian Pediatric Society and the World Professional Association for Transgender Health as medically necessary and life-saving. Research from the Trevor Project found that the introduction of anti-trans legislation is associated with a 72% increase in suicidal ideation amongst trans youth. Denying access to affirming care is not a policy disagreement, it is a matter of life and death. Here in Manitoba, we have chosen a different path. Our government affirms the dignity, safety, and equality of transgender people. We recognize that every child deserves to grow up knowing that they are valued, that they are protected, not legislated out of existence. Today, I call on every political leader in this province and country to take a stand, condemn the abuse of the notwithstanding clause to strip away charter rights. We have to defend the right of every transgender person, especially every transgender child, to live, to thrive, and to be free. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Prior to oral questions, there's some guests in the gallery I'd like to introduce. I'd like to draw the attention of all honourable members to the public gallery where we have with us today Erica Fitchie, Natalie Youngka, who are guests of the Honourable Minister of Sport, Culture, Heritage and Tourism, and on behalf of all members, we welcome you here today. Further, I'd like to draw the attention of all honourable members to the public gallery where we have with us today Namandeep Kaur Dhaliwal, who is the guest of the honourable member for Burroughs, and we welcome you here today. Oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. This Premier simply doesn't get it. He asked residents of Point Douglas to accept a drug injection site in their community, but he won't tell them where it is. The Mayor of Winnipeg has said, and I quote, "Public consultation would be very, very important here to hear from residents and business owners as their thoughts related to the potential impact on the area." End quote. Will the Premier listen to the Mayor? Will he listen to the residents of Point Douglas? Will he listen to Manitobans and let them have their say on a drug consumption site this Premier and NDP government is forcing into downtown Winnipeg?
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Honourable Speaker, I just want to, through the chair, of course, acknowledge that we have some guests in the gallery who are here to recognize Trans Day of Remembrance, which is a really significant day. And you'll note, Honourable Speaker, that we all stood up in this House, stood up on our feet and applauded member statements, ministerials, but the only time the members opposite refused to stand up and acknowledge guests in the gallery was in response to our member for Kirkfield Park's comments on Trans Day of Remembrance. Now, Honourable Speaker, I don't know about you, but on this side of the House, we think that that sickening, disheartening display is shameful and has no place in this province, certainly not in this chamber.
Time has expired. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, what's sickening is that this Premier won't even stand up and tell the residents of Point Douglas where and why he is forcing a drug consumption site into downtown Winnipeg. The Premier and his entire NDP caucus, including MLAs from Waverley, Tuxedo, McPhillips, Transcona, Radisson, Lagimodiere, Fort Richmond, Kirkfield Park, Assiniboia, and every NDP member on that side of the House support a drug consumption site in in your neighborhood. They support a drug consumption site in your neighborhood without you having any input. On this side of the House, we think that's wrong. Will the Premier stand up today and tell Manitobans where this drug consumption site is going and when it's going to open?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Honourable Speaker, our Minister for Housing, Addictions and Homelessness has done extensive consultation, extensive outreach in communities, and will continue to consult with communities on this particular matter, the supervised consumption site. But I do want to recognize here, Honourable Speaker, that yesterday the Leader of the Opposition asked a similar question, but later he admitted to media in a scrum that he doesn't have a clue what he's even talking about. He, and this is a direct quote, stated that he'd have to go back and look at Hansard if I said that. That was a misstep there, Honourable Speaker. In reference to the language he chooses to use when talking about a supervised consumption site, language he continues to use in the chamber today. Because not only does he not actually respect trans people, he doesn't respect people who are using...
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, the answer to that is simple. I don't respect members on that side of the House who think it's okay to provide and force and provide a safe or a drug or a harm injection site to Manitobans.
Order.
Members on that side of the House believe it's okay to provide a drug consumption site in your neighborhood. Residents of Point Douglas have clearly said they don't want it, and I quote, "We're beginning to feel like a drug rehab dumping ground around here," end quote. That's residents. Is the Minister of Addictions listening to that? Is the Premier listening to that? No, they refuse. This Premier refuses to listen to Manitobans. So I'll ask again, will the Premier allow Manitobans to have their say about him forcing a drug consumption site into your neighborhood?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Honourable Speaker, on this side of the House, we care about marginalized Manitobans. We care about communities that need services and resources delivered in a compassionate and evidence-based way. And of course, we're going to consult community, we're going to consult and work with the experts, and we're going to make sure that if you're struggling with addictions in this province, we establish the services that are going to save your life and ensure that you get the quality of care you deserve. Primary care, where and when you need it. Right. Unlike members opposite, they don't care about trans people, they don't care about trans kids, they don't care about people struggling with addictions. That behavior was pre the last election and it continues post the last election. They've learned nothing on that side of the House. On this side, we stand with Manitobans, all Manitobans.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a new question.
Honourable Speaker, every Manitoban would agree that if you care for someone, you would not be giving them drugs. But this NDP thinks it's okay to give your loved one drugs, to provide a safe consumption site, a drug consumption site for your loved ones in your neighborhood. Under this NDP, Manitoba's economy is dead last. Yet in the throne speech, the Premier didn't mention one thing, one tangible, concrete thing that will move Manitoba's economy forward. Years of feasibility studies await the Port of Churchill. It's not an immediate fix for the economic challenges faced under this failing NDP government. Manitoba needs economic growth today. So why is the Premier delaying the process and projects in Manitoba by creating another Crown Corporation where there's already too much red tape and artificial hurdles created by this NDP government?
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
I just want to be really clear about what the member opposite, the Leader of the Opposition, is asking or questioning or making very clear he doesn't support. A Crown Indigenous Corporation.
True colors, obviously.
The member opposite, every member on that House, and the Leader of the Opposition peddle in one thing, and they do it pretty badly, and that is division. They are focused on division. They are focused on hateful rhetoric. They are focused on not lifting up all Manitobans. We will not take any notes from that member. This is embarrassing behavior on his part. We stand for all Manitobans, and we will continue to do that, economically, healthcare-wise, for all of our communities.
Right on. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
Maybe they should go back to school and start taking notes, because a D- for the Minister of Finance is not a passing grade. It's not just delays, it's the complete lack of plan by this NDP government. Manitoba Hydro has said there's not enough capacity for energy for intensive industries to set up shop in Manitoba. The Premier, however, fired the CEO of Manitoba Hydro for disagreeing with her. She said there's not enough energy in this province. The Premier said, and I quote, there's tons of megawatts, and now he says there's not enough energy. Will the Premier admit that he was wrong to fire Jay Grewal, the former CEO of Hydro? Will he admit that he was wrong when it came to energy capacity in this province? And will he admit that he is wrong to not sign on to pipelines and energy corridors with Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Ontario to grow Manitoba's economy today?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Honourable Speaker, I just want to acknowledge that our Minister of Finance is doing a phenomenal job. The Minister of Finance is working hard to make sure that we're bringing 750 megawatts new energy here in Manitoba in the Brandon area. Our Minister of Finance is working with experts locally to make sure that we are moving our economy in the right direction, not for now, but for generations in addition to that to come. The Leader of the Opposition better say it with his whole chest. Does he support economic reconciliation or not? Because his first question would suggest he doesn't. His first question would suggest he's dividing Manitobans. His first question would suggest he doesn't get where Manitobans are, nor where they want to go. They want to go to a united future.
Time has expired. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
Manitobans heard it right there. This Deputy Premier thinks a D- is phenomenal grade for their failing Finance Minister. It explains why Manitoba's economy is dead last in Canada under this failing NDP government. This Premier has no plan to grow our economy. This Premier makes reckless remarks and never apologizes to those he attacks or admits when he's wrong. Will the Premier finally show some leadership and say he was wrong and apologize to Manitobans? Healthcare is worse under this NDP government. Taxes are up, crime is up, drug use is up, homelessness is up, but our economy is ranked dead last under this NDP. It's time for the Premier to come clean, stand up, show some humility, and apologize to Manitobans for being the complete and utter failure of a leader and a Premier that he is.
Hear it.
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Honourable Speaker, our government, led by the most popular Premier in this country, is working very, very hard to make sure that we not only repair the damage done to our economy, to healthcare by the previous government, but that we really make decisions right now today that ensure a prosperous and brighter future for generations of Manitobans to come. Now, the throne speech was a big hit. We know that. Manitobans are over the moon about what they saw in healthcare, the economy, education, etc. But the Manitoba Chambers of Commerce responded to our 2025 throne speech. And I'm going to table that because I'm pretty certain the Leader of the Opposition hasn't bothered to read it. Lots of really good quotes in here reflecting on the strength of our throne speech. But I want to make perfectly clear, the brightest, the way that our future Manitoba is bright is by working.
The Honourable Member for Spruce Woods.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. On May 1st, Jeremy Bray finally got access to the life-changing medicine he needed. Over the past 6 months, his life has taken on new hope. For once in my life, he told me, I was able to be optimistic about the future of my disease. He had hope until Friday, when he got a phone call from this government telling him his funding was cut off. Out of the blue, for no reason given, what you have is what you get. Why did this minister dangle hope for Jeremy just to rip it away again?
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I recognize that the member for Spruce Woods is new and maybe isn't fully up to speed on this file. This is a really tragic situation. Jeremy Bray is a Manitoban with a degenerative disease that is rare. And our government, when this was brought to our attention and brought to my attention, started working very quickly to examine all possible avenues to support Jeremy and his family. This was an issue that was brought forward years ago under the previous PC government. They didn't do anything, which is unfortunate. But we have been working very hard with the Canadian Drug Agency to advance some studies and some steps that they can take to support this family. I'll offer more information in my next response, but I encourage that member to learn a bit more of the background on this case.
The Honourable Member for Spruce Woods on a supplementary question.
Well, thank you, Honourable Mr. Speaker. Well, this minister pledged open communication, but has been silent on this issue. Jeremy got the call telling him no more medicine was covered. That's it. It was working. He had hope. If this minister was willing to kill his hope and future, why didn't the minister have the courage to pick up the phone?
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Honourable Speaker, our office has been in communication with Jeremy Bray and his family. I was able to meet with the family in my office. This is really serious. The Leader of the Opposition, you probably shouldn't heckle me right now.
Order.
Honourable Speaker, this is a very serious matter. My office has been in regular communication. We actually spoke with Jeremy today. I want to make very clear that the pharmaceutical company that was providing the medication to him under compassionate coverage, we're very hopeful that Roche will continue to do that moving forward.
The Honourable Member for Spruce Woods on a final supplementary question.
This is cruel, Honourable Speaker. It's cruel to give hope, then snatch it away again. This health minister should be ashamed. It should be doctors who are directing Jeremy's medical treatment, not the minister. So would this minister stand in this place today and commit today to fully funding Jeremy's medication?
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
I thank the member for Spruce Woods for making that very, very wise statement. It should be doctors and experts that make decisions about medications being given to those who need it, not politicians. The Canadian Drug Agency commissioned a review at our request, an expedited review of this case. We pushed very hard for that to be done. Our advocacy to them and Roche resulted in Roche providing Jeremy Bray with medication under their compassionate coverage policy. I highly encourage Roche to continue to provide that compassionate coverage for Jeremy as he's indicating he's experiencing benefits. I look forward to sitting down with Jeremy and his family to discuss this further, but we will keep advocating to the CDA. We will keep advocating to Roche, something they never did.
The Honourable Member for Midland.
Honourable Speaker, it's clear that Manitobans cannot afford this NDP government. The NDP are spending more, borrowing more, and driving Manitoba deeper and deeper into debt. Yet Manitobans are getting zero affordability relief from this NDP. Families are paying more for groceries, for their electricity bills, and their everyday essentials. Yet this NDP refuses to offer any meaningful long-term tax relief. Why did this NDP fail to provide or announce any meaningful tax relief during an affordability crisis to Manitobans in their throne speech?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Honourable Speaker, I'm going to quote the Deputy Premier from their response yesterday and say, what are they talking about? We cut the gas tax an entire year, holiday, again, something they didn't do for 7.5 years. Then we brought in a permanent gas tax cut. Then we brought in a hydro rate freeze, a middle-class tax cut across all of Manitoba, and education property tax credits that are helping to reduce the cost of education property taxes. We are doing the work of making life more affordable, and in our throne speech yesterday, we announced that we're going to be doing more work to help make groceries more affordable, and we're going to be doing work to tackle the cost of rent. These are things the members opposite never did anything about. In fact, they did the opposite. They made life more expensive. Manitobans can count on this team to get the job.
The Honourable Member for Midland on a supplementary question.
This NDP government's makeshift temporary tax policies that ended a year ago are not helping Manitobans today. In fact, costs have just increased. Electricity has increased. Gas taxes have increased. Yet this NDP government offered no long-term meaningful solutions today and into the future. In fact, $82 million in additional taxation for income taxes, $350 million in new education property taxes. 55% of Winnipeg properties worse off thanks to this NDP government's property tax plan. Families are having to choose between paying their bills and sending kids to activities. Fixed income seniors are having to choose between paying their bills and paying for medication. Will this NDP government reverse their decision on education property tax so Manitobans
time has expired. The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Honourable Speaker, this is coming from a member whose party jacked up taxes on renters by $175. That's their record. They jacked up hydro rates. Again, we talk about this over and over in this House, but it doesn't seem to get across. They did work year over year of making life more expensive. We're doing the work of lowering costs. And in addition to that, Honourable Speaker, we're growing opportunities here in Manitoba. We have added 25,000 jobs in Manitoba since we took government. There you go. Led by this minister, led by our premier, we're doing the work of creating more opportunities while we make Manitoba affordable. That is the path towards building a stronger province. They took us backwards. We're going to keep moving us forward.
Great job. Great job. The Honourable Member for Midland on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, under this PC government, electricity rates were the second lowest in North America. They are only increasing under this NDP government. So is income taxes and so is education property taxes. Yet Manitobans are not getting any cost of living relief or any new long-term affordability measures from this NDP government. Will the finance admit that his fiscal irresponsibility is pushing Manitobans to the brink, with almost half reporting that they're $200 away from bankruptcy?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Honourable Speaker, the members opposite jacked up hydro rates every single year they were in government, and they did it with new and novel ways through legislation, all types of new methods to make life more expensive. You know what the most ridiculous part is, Honourable Speaker, about that? They did that without building one single additional megawatt of energy to support Manitobans. They achieved the impossible, made rates go up as fast as they could, while they did nothing of any kind to advance the province when it comes to meeting our energy needs. We're keeping rates affordable, we're building hydro, we're building Manitoba, and we're going to get the job done.
Just before we proceed, I would ask both sides to calm down, because everybody's getting too loud. The Honourable Member for Lac du Bonny.
Oh, Honourable Speaker, once again, this minister seems to be factually incorrect, and maybe we need to take one of the member from Elmwood Snickers bars and give it to him, because obviously he's a little angry today, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, Manitobans just can't afford this spend-EP government. Will the Education Minister today stand up and apologize for underfunding school boards on our education?
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Honourable Speaker, what in the world is he talking about? Since we have come into government, Honourable Speaker, after years of the PC government failing to invest in education, freezing education funding, we have, since forming government, $170 million increase over 2 years. Right. How much was it this year, Honourable Speaker? This year alone, it was $67 million. This year alone, $67 million. This year alone. What that means, Honourable Speaker, is in Manitoba, we have more than 800 teachers working in the system today than we did when they left office, and thank goodness they did.
Member's time has expired. The Honourable Member for Lac du Bonny on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, I think the Education Minister is going to need a box of Snicker bars, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, math is hard. I know for this minister, math is hard. 22-23 school year funding from the PC government, $120 million to school divisions. 23-24, $100 million plus another $106 million. She stated her lack of funding to school divisions right on the record today, Honourable Speaker. She and her government are forcing Manitobans to the tune of another $350 million tax hikes on Manitobans. She can stand up today and apologize. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Honourable Speaker, it boggles my mind that the member opposite would want us to apologize for funding our school divisions so that our school divisions can hire more than 800 new teachers to work in our schools. What does that mean, Honourable Speaker? That means more one-on-one time between students and their teachers so that students can get better at math, which, again, we could all get better at doing, Honourable Speaker. We know that the students here in Manitoba have a great potential. Unfortunately, after 7.5 years of a government that did not believe in them, a government that did not believe in teachers, Manitobans finally have a government that knows how to invest in education. We have a caucus that is full of incredible educators.
Time has expired. The Honourable Member for Lac du Bonny on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, the minister stood up herself and actually verified the fact that her funding was half as much as what was funded under the PC government, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, there is nothing in the throne speech about the new education funding model, Honourable Speaker. Can the minister advise the House when the new funding model is actually coming to school divisions, or did she scrap it?
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Honourable Speaker, our advisory council on school funding has been meeting regularly. I just met with that funding advisory panel just last week, and they are working very hard to make sure that schools here in Manitoba are funded in the way that they need to be. Not only are we funding schools so that they can have more teachers in the classroom, but we are once again, Honourable Speaker, this year and forever and all time, thanks to Nello's Law, we'll be funding a $30 million universal nutrition program so that every single student in Manitoba has the best chance that they can, not only to succeed in school, Honourable Speaker, but to succeed in life. We know that a good education plan is a good healthcare plan. We know a good education plan is a good public safety plan. Right. And thank goodness,
Member's time has expired. The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Brandon taxpayers are looking at a 10% increase in education property taxes as a best-case scenario because of this NDP government's incompetence. Despite efforts for a more fair funding model, this failed Minister of Education threw it all out and carried on with her destructive ways. Why has this minister left my constituents holding the bag, emptying their wallets for her incompetence?
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Honourable Speaker, the opposition can spend their times making personal attacks on me. The member from Lac du Bonny says I don't know how to do math. The member from Brandon West says I'm incompetent. What we're focused on this side of the House, Honourable Speaker, they can attack me all day long. We're here to work for Manitobans. It was only just in the last week and a half, the Premier, myself, and the member for Brandon East were in Brandon. We were at Neelan High School celebrating that incredible school and the incredible resilience that they've had after a terrible tragedy. We've met with the superintendent. We've met with the school board. We're going to continue working with all of our partners to make sure that every student in Manitoba, including every student in Brandon, has the resources that they need to succeed.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West on a supplementary question.
It's good that they've met with the schools, but if they met with the school board, the NDP put on those rose-colored glasses and they ignored reality. The board chair put it so simply during the public meeting that even this NDP cabinet can't ignore the warning signs, and I'll quote, "What we're trying to tell you is bad. It's really bad." Well, Honourable Speaker, that also describes this cabinet. It's bad. It's really bad. To the MLA for Brandon East, I've heard about this from my constituents, so why is he representing government to his constituents rather than his constituents to government?
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And again, I've put this on the record before, but I'll say it again. Do you know the number of school divisions that saw an increase both last year and the year previous? That's 100%, and that includes the Brandon School Division. The Brandon School Division has received a 14.5% increase in their funding since we've come into government. That's over $11 million, Honourable Speaker. And what that has resulted in the community of Brandon is more than 70 new staff working in the community of Brandon that were not there under their previous government, Honourable Speaker. And I will table for the House the record of the government previous and the cuts that the Brandon School Division was left to make under their watch. And what did they have to cut, Honourable Speaker? The nutrition
program. Time has expired. The Honourable Member for Brandon West on a final supplementary question.
Well, let's hear more from the board. Board Vice Chair Duncan Ross was clear and, unlike this minister, upfront about the problem. And I quote from an interview, "We overtax our citizens and somehow we make it work. But I'm worried about the point where we can't. There's been no real signs from this province that anything's going to change or come, despite us repeatedly saying that things are broken." End quote. So simply, I ask my fellow Brandonite and member for Brandon East, the board says it's broken. Why isn't his NDP government listening?
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Honourable Speaker, the member from Brandon is correct that they left the education system broken.
That's right.
We are still recovering. The school division, school board, schools, students, teachers across this province are still recovering from their absolutely shameful record, Honourable Speaker. But if the member from Brandon West is looking for signs, I've got 3 for them. We're talking about a brand new school in the community of Brandon, in Brandon School Division. We're talking about another brand new school in Brandon for the DSFM School Division. And we are finally fixing their mistake with a brand new expansion and renovation at Maryland Park School. Honourable Speaker, we will fix what the PCs have broken.
That's right.
The Honourable Member for Tyndall Park.
Honourable Speaker, most provinces in Canada conduct what's called regular food costing in urban, rural and remote areas using a tool that measures the cost of a basic healthy diet. Unfortunately, this government has yet to engage in regular food costing. In 2017, a coalition led by the Manitoba Health, Seniors and Active Living collected grocery pricing across Manitoba. The province was to prepare and issue a final report. However, to this day, a report has not been released. With the cost of food rising, does this government plan to create a new report to better understand why food inflation in Manitoba is higher than the national average?
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I apologize. I actually didn't hear the year that the member for Tyndall Park was referencing in terms of that prior report. So I'd appreciate if she could share that again in her follow-up question. I want to make sure I respond accordingly. But in the absence of having that detail, what I will say is our government takes nutrition and the health of our communities and the health of kids across this province very, very seriously. You know, we have this sort of North Star for our government and for this province that more kids will see their 18th birthday and thrive beyond that, which is part of the reason why, inspired by our late and great colleague Nella Altamare, we passed legislation and implemented a universal nutrition program across this province for all students in all schools. That is something that changes the health outcomes for generations to come.
First time has expired. The Honourable Member for Tyndall Park on a supplementary question.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The year was 2017. The cost of living in Manitoba continues to rise. Everyday items from groceries, hygiene products, household appliances, and more keep getting more expensive, in part because of a lack of public reporting being done in Manitoba. People are needing to cut back, avoid quality products, and even skip important everyday needs like meals and maintaining hygiene. Honourable Speaker, those who need the most assistance have yet to receive tangible cost-saving benefits. When can those who really need the assistance expect to start seeing savings?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I really appreciate the question from the member. We do know that it's important that we do more work to help Manitobans who are struggling with affordability. And that's why when we came in, we took measures immediately, which of course we've talked about a lot in this House. But when it comes to grocery prices, we do know that we've made progress with our bill, Bill 31, which ensures more competition among grocery stores. We know that yesterday's announcement that we're going to be continuing to do studies that will lead into action at a later date to support more affordability on groceries is important. Because again, we know that after years of Manitobans having a government that wasn't focused on ensuring that those that need support got support, that we need to lean into that and we need to keep focusing on making sure that this work that this government is focused on, of making life more affordable, continues each and every day.
The Honourable Member for Tyndall Park on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, rural Manitobans are especially feeling the burden of food insecurity, often with limited access to groceries and everyday needs. The last time the provincial government released a Northern Food Prices Report was in 2003. Manitobans and First Nation communities in towns like Churchill, The Pas, and Dauphin can't keep up with the skyrocketing prices, making them turn to cheaper processed foods and high-sugar alternatives. The Premier met with the Prime Minister earlier this week to speak on the development of the Port of Churchill. Can the government confirm and share that with the investments being promised, groceries will become more affordable to existing communities following the opening of the port?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Again, really appreciate the question about food prices and how we can do more, what we need to do to keep making life more affordable. Again, yesterday's announcement about our commitment to study how we can move forward in lowering grocery costs even further is something that's very important. We're excited to do that work and then follow that up with action. Again, that builds on Bill 31, which increases competition among grocers in Manitoba. That's helping to keep food prices lower. And also, of course, we know that the Universal School Nutrition Program, something we're so proud to have brought in, something the members opposite thought was a bad idea to support kids and ensuring that they could get access to the nutritious food they needed to start their day and be successful in school, is incredibly important. So we're proud of the work that we've done. There's more work to do, but we know that life under the members opposite was difficult.
Your time has expired. The Honourable Member for Transcona.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Our government understands that first responders are key to delivering health care in communities across Manitoba. Under the previous government, we lost 90 rural paramedics as the PCs dismantled health care. But yesterday brought good news for paramedics in Manitoba. Can the Minister of Health tell us about how they're improving emergency care access here in Manitoba?
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
For years under the PCs, we saw paramedic training enrollment drop. Training seats sat empty as the PCs made it harder and harder for people to pursue their career as an emergency responder, but we are changing that. Right. I was proud to announce with my colleagues yesterday and the Premier 14 new direct entry seats for paramedic training at Red River College. By eliminating the PCs' unnecessary red tape to college entry, we can now see students enter this training program right out of high school. And I'm proud to say that after years of the PCs letting those classes and those seats sit empty, today we have full enrollment of those PCP seats at Red River College who are prepared to serve Manitobans. This is another way we're keeping you safe across the province. It's another way that we're delivering better health care for Manitobans.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for La-Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I continue to voice Manitobans' concern about the direction of our economy under this unaffordable NDP government. In just 1 month, we saw 4,000 manufacturing jobs disappear. Another 1,000 mining jobs gone. And value-added agriculture companies, they're packing up and heading west after being ghosted by this NDP government. That's the real record of this Premier on economic development. Jobs leaving, investment leaving, and opportunities leaving. Manufacturing, mining, agriculture, 3 pillars of our economy collapsing under this government's watch. My question to the travel agent Premier, who's next?
Wow. The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I think our government is very proud of the work we're doing to build a stronger economy that works for all Manitobans. In fact, in the last 2 years, we've created over 25,000 new, good, full-time jobs for Manitobans. And just in the last year, Honourable Speaker, Manitobans should know, we created 3,400 new construction jobs, 2,700 new jobs in wholesale trades, and 1,600 new agriculture jobs. That's the second highest rate in the country, a record we're proud of to do alongside our Minister of Agriculture, to grow our economy, grow agriculture, and make sure it supports all Manitobans.
The Honourable Member for La-Vérendrye.
Honourable Speaker, since we didn't get an answer, I'll tell you who's next. It's the housing industry. Housing starts in Winnipeg fell by 40% in October alone. And it wasn't because of the weather. The weather's been great this fall. The CMHC data was clear. Winnipeg housing starts are down 46% from last year. Multi-unit starts down 67%. And province-wide, Manitoba ranks dead last in the entire country. Our province has so much to offer with endless opportunities, but under this government, people aren't wanting to invest or build here. This Premier lives in his own reality. Is anyone over there willing to take responsibility for the economic freefall we're seeing?
Time has expired. The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Honourable Speaker, the economic freefall we saw under the failed PC government included inflation that was skyrocketing, job growth that was stagnant, and Manitobans were fleeing the province to record numbers. We've reversed the trend on that with record job growth, with unemployment rates that are among the best in the country. In fact, we're Trump-proofing our economy instead of thanking Trump and making sure we create more jobs in manufacturing, in agriculture, and in the trades. We're so thankful to work alongside partners in our post-secondaries to ensure Manitobans have the training to get the jobs for now and well into the future so that all of Manitobans can participate in a growing and thriving economy.
Hear, hear.
Order, please. The time for order, please. The time for oral questions has expired. I have a ruling for the House, but first there's some guests in the gallery I would like to introduce. We have seated in the public gallery from Sir John's Ravenscourt 50 grade 9 students under the direction of Heather Rago, and this group is located in the constituency of the Honourable Member for St. John. Order, please. In the second session of the 43rd Legislature, prior to routine proceedings on October 30th, 2025, the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition raised a matter of privilege regarding the Speaker refusing a request for camera footage from the Chamber, stating that such requests had been granted in other instances. The member concluded his remarks by moving that this Assembly release and make publicly available the multi-view footage of the Chamber from the date Wednesday, October 29. The Honourable Deputy Government House Leader spoke to the matter before I took it under advisement. In order for a matter of privilege to be ruled as prima facie, a member must demonstrate that the issue has been raised at the earliest opportunity, while also providing sufficient evidence to support the claim that a prima facie case of privilege has been established. On the condition of timeliness, the member raised the matter at 1:30 p.m. on the day he received the email with the information in question. While he could have raised the matter when the House met at 10 a.m. that day, Manitoba speakers have typically allowed members to wait until 1:30 to raise such matters. I would also acknowledge the member's assertion that he needed to do some research on this before raising it in the House. Therefore, I would agree that he raised the matter at his earliest opportunity. Regarding the question of whether the member established a prima facie case, I will quickly review his case. The member stated that in connection with a different matter of privilege raised by the Honourable Member for Steinbach, he requested camera footage from this House from the Speaker's office. He then noted that the Speaker refused that request and he tabled the relevant email and my letter. The member also referenced a previous incident where video footage from the House was released and stated that an unequal standard was applied to the two different incidents and requests for footage. He further asserted that the denial of this footage was a clear breach of my ability to perform my role as Leader of the Official Opposition and MLA for Fort White. I will note here that the basis for the member's complaint is an alleged breach of an administrative procedure of this House, and I have two points to make in relation to this. First, the Speaker of this House, as the Speaker of this House, I am responsible for making many procedural and administrative decisions relating to the Assembly. This is affirmed on page 318 of the third edition of House of Commons Procedure and Practice, which states, as the arbitrator of House proceedings, the Speaker's duty is to preserve order and decorum in the House and to decide any matters of procedure that may arise. This duty carries with it a wide-ranging authority extending to the conduct of proceedings. Second, decisions regarding the release of video footage from the chamber are both procedural and administrative. I reference this because I have advised members previously any matter concerning the methods by which the House proceeds in the conduct of business would be a question of order, not privilege. Joseph Mango, in the second edition of Parliamentary Privilege in Canada, states on page 14 that allegations of breach of privilege by a member in the House that amount to complaints about procedures and practices in the House are by their very nature matters of order. With these points in mind, I'm ruling on this matter the member did not establish a prima facie case of privilege. For the sake of clarity for all members on this matter, in the letter I sent to all members on October 27th, 2025, and in an email I sent October 30th, 2025 to the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition, I clearly identified the criteria under which I would release such footage. For the record, I will quote from that email now. I will remind you of the conditions under which I stated I would release multi-view footage from the chamber as explained in my letter to all MLAs on this topic dated October 27, 2025. In the event of an incident happening in the chamber that I did not witness and was not captured on the Assembly broadcast, I may choose to review multi-view footage. However, this will only happen if the incident in question is raised in the House as part of a point of order or a matter of privilege, and if I deem it necessary to consult the recording when considering my ruling on the matter. On such occasions, once I have ruled on the point of order or matter of privilege, I will make the footage in question available upon request. In the case of the incident in which is the subject of the matter of privilege raised on October 29th by the Honourable Member for Steinbach, I witnessed the events myself, and therefore I do not deem it necessary to consult the recordings when considering my ruling on the matter. Accordingly, I will not be releasing any footage on this incident. I thank members for their attention to this matter. Grievances. The Honourable Member for Agassiz.
With all due respect, Honourable Speaker, I would like to challenge this, please.
The ruling of the Speaker has been challenged. All those in favour of sustaining the ruling of the Speaker, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. In my opinion, the ayes have it. The Honourable Member for Agassiz.
Recorded vote, please.
A recorded vote has been requested. Please call in the members. Order, please. The 1 hour for the ringing of the division bells has expired. Therefore, I'm requesting that they be turned off and the House proceed to the vote. Question before the House is, shall the Speaker's ruling be sustained? All those in the House in favor of sustaining the Speaker's ruling, please rise.
Honourable Minister Schmidt.
Honourable Minister Schmidt.
Honourable Mr. Wiebe.
Honourable Mr. Wiebe.
Honourable Minister Asseguara.
Honourable Minister Asseguara.
Honourable Minister Sala.
Honourable Minister Sala.
Honourable Mr. Costician.
Honourable Mr. Costician.
Ms. Laughlin.
Ms. Laughlin.
Honourable Mr. Bushy.
Honourable Mr. Bushy.
Honourable Mr. Simard.
Honourable Mr. Simard.
Honourable Minister Marcelino.
Honourable Minister Marcelino.
Honourable Minister Kennedy.
Honourable Minister Kennedy.
Honourable Mr. Moses.
Honourable Mr. Moses.
Honourable Minister Cable.
Honourable Minister Cable.
Honourable Minister Sandhu.
Honourable Minister Sandhu.
Honourable Minister Moyes.
Honourable Minister Moyes.
MLA Malloway.
MLA Malloway.
MLA Corbett.
MLA Corbett.
Mr. Blaschko.
Mr. Blaschko.
MLA Chen.
MLA Chen.
MLA Pankratz.
MLA Pankratz.
MLA Devgun.
MLA Devgun.
MLA Compton.
MLA Compton.
Mr. Oxenham.
Mr. Oxenham.
MLA Loisel.
MLA Loisel.
MLA De La Cruz.
MLA De La Cruz.
Mrs. Schott.
Mrs. Schott.
Mr. Brar.
Mr. Brar.
MLA Redhead.
MLA Redhead.
MLA Cross.
MLA Cross.
MLA Lamoureux.
MLA Lamoureux.
All those in the House opposed to the motion, please rise.
Okay.
Mr. Khan.
Mr. Khan.
Mrs. Stone.
Mrs. Stone.
MLA Bariza.
MLA Bariza.
Mrs. Cook.
Mrs. Cook.
Mr. Narth.
Mr. Narth.
Ms. Byram.
Ms. Byram.
Mr. Schuler.
Mr. Schuler.
Mr. Gertzen.
Mr. Gertzen.
Mrs. Hebert.
Mrs. Hebert.
Mr. Balkin.
Mr. Balkin.
Mr. Ginter.
Mr. Ginter.
Mr. King.
Mr. King.
Mr. Iwasko.
Mr. Iwasko.
Mr. Vasiliu.
Mr. Wassiliou.
Mr. Wharton.
Mr. Wharton.
Mr. Wochuk.
Mr. Wochuk.
Mr. Nesbitt.
Mr. Nesbitt.
Mrs. Robbins.
Mrs. Robbins.
Mr. Prashad.
Mr. Prashad.
We will now proceed to the vote of the members participating virtually, and as there is only one, I would ask you to unmute your mic only when you're recognized and then immediately mute it again. The page will now conduct the vote.
Honourable Mr. Canoe.
I vote yes. Honourable Mr. Canoe votes yes. Well done, Shane. Anna, I'm sorry. Ayes 30, nays 19.
The ruling of the Speaker has been sustained. The motion has been passed. Now we will move on to petitions. Seeing none, House business, orders of day, government business, House business. The Honourable Member for Agassiz.
On House business.
The Honourable Member for Agassiz on House business.
Honourable Speaker, pursuant to Rule 34.8, I'm announcing that the private member's resolution to be considered on the next Thursday of private member's business will be the one put forward by the Honourable Member for La Vérendrye. The title of the resolution is Affordability and the Economy.
It has been announced that pursuant to Rule 34(8), that the private member's resolution to be considered on the next Thursday of private member's business will be the one put forward by the Honourable Member for La Vérendrye. The title of the resolution is Affordability and the Economy. Now, we will now resume throne speech debate, and the debate is standing in the name of the Honourable Member for La Vérendrye that has 14 minutes remaining. The Honourable Member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity again to speak to the throne speech that was presented by this government earlier this week. As you will have remembered, Honourable Speaker, I was focusing on the economy and the outright gap between rhetoric and reality in this government's throne speech. And as you will have remembered, Honourable Speaker, I was speaking specifically to Churchill. And nowhere have we seen a gap between rhetoric and reality more obvious than in this government's fixation on the Port of Churchill. Let me make it absolutely clear. Revitalizing Churchill is a worthwhile goal. It has real potential. It could be transformational if it were built on the foundation of real customers, real suppliers, real contracts, real shippers, real financing, and real federal partnership. But right now, none of these pieces exist. The Premier keeps using words like multi-billion-dollar opportunity, but after 2 years, he has not secured one committed customer. Not one long-term contract, not one commodity stream ready to move through the port. Honourable Speaker, a port without products is not a port. It's a hobby project. They want to build a warehouse with nothing to put in it. They want to build a terminal with nothing to move through it. This is the equivalent of a business opening a store with no inventory, no suppliers, and no customers, and then wondering why nothing is selling in this province. If you build it, they will come. It's not sound public policy. It's fantasy. What Manitobans find so troubling is that the Premier is charging ahead with millions of taxpayer dollars for yet another feasibility study, despite no federal commitment, no confirmed private partners, no signed shippers, no operational business case, no cost-benefit analysis, and no demonstrated demand. And when the Prime Minister visited Manitoba last week, the Premier trotted him out for the photo op and came away with nothing. Not a commitment, not a timeline, not even a hint of a partnership. Worse still, the Minister of Economic Development wasn't even there. Honourable Speaker, I'll actually pause here because it's good to see the Minister of Economic Development. It's good to see the Minister of Economic Development. I don't want to point out if he's present or not present, and that's why I stumbled for a second, because I respect the rules of this House. But it's great to see the minister, because I was starting to get worried. He's been so absent on Manitoba's biggest economic file that I wasn't sure if he still had that job. This government can't even get its own minister responsible for economic growth into the room when the Prime Minister's here. How can anyone take this government seriously? Honourable Speaker, no credible company would launch a major project without secured buyers, secured suppliers, secured capital, secured markets, and a secured transportation plan. Yet that is exactly the approach this government is taking with Churchill. They keep saying Churchill, 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 but words do not create commerce. Words do not build the economy. And words definitely do not attract the investment. Leadership requires action. Leadership requires vision backed by execution. Leadership means wanting the ball when the movement matters, not handing it to the Prime Minister and saying, the ball is in your court now, Mr. Prime Minister. That was not leadership. That was an administration that has no plan on their own. Honourable Speaker, While this government is stuck in photo ops and poetry, our neighbours are getting deals done. Saskatchewan just secured a $1 billion ag trade deal with Indonesia. Alberta is expanding their petrochemical exports and LNG partnerships. Ontario continues to attract manufacturing and energy investment. And you might ask how? You might ask how, Honourable Speaker? How does everyone around us seem to be winning when we're losing? Well, they pick up the phone, they get on planes, they visit markets, they sell their provinces, they fight for the investment. They act like partners, not as spectators. Meanwhile, where was our agriculture minister? Ottawa? And what did he bring back to Manitoba? Nothing. There is a reason Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Ontario signed a memorandum of understanding to pursue an energy corridor, and Manitoba was invited. And what did this premier do with that invitation? He refused. He refused to even sign the agreement needed to start the conversation. Manitoba could have positioned Churchill as the national endpoint of a national energy corridor. The opportunity was sitting right there. And he let it walk out the door. Manitoba is being left behind not because of geography, not because of capacity, definitely not because of opportunity. We are being left behind because of political decisions. Honourable Speaker, what was perhaps most shocking in this throne speech was the lack of any meaningful plan for agriculture, the backbone of Manitoba's economy, and certainly the backbone of my constituency of La Vérendrye. After one of the worst drought years in recent memory, producers needed some commitments. They needed real relief, and they needed a real strategy. Instead, they received a passing mention, a generic line about supporting producers, and another announcement of, guess what? Another study. No plan for long-term water storage, no plan for drought resilience, no plan for ag processing expansion, no plan for competitiveness on red tape reduction, no plan for a permitting reform, no plan to strengthen food processing, transport, or export capacity. Agriculture is not a footnote in Manitoba's economy. It is the economy. And this government continues to treat it as an afterthought. Producers don't need symbolic language. They need execution. They need a government that understands that when agriculture suffers, Manitoba suffers. Honourable Speaker, let's be honest about what 2 years of this NDP government has produced. A decline in provincial GDP growth, businesses walking away from investment opportunities, a mining sector losing ground, agribusiness expansion relocating to other provinces, months-long delays for basic permits, dropping competitiveness rankings, a shrinking private sector confidence index. This throne speech tried to paint a picture of momentum, but the truth is, Manitoba is stagnating. If photo ops built economies, Manitoba would be booming. If recycled announcements created jobs, we would have record employment. If studies solved problems, rural communities would be thriving. But in the real world, economic development requires timelines, targets, accountability, efficiency, and business acumen. This government has none of those qualities. Honourable Speaker, Manitobans deserve better. They deserve a government with a real plan, a government that understands agriculture, supports investment, and respects the private sector. A government that reduces red tape, accelerates approvals, partners with industry, restores competitiveness, attracts the capital, and delivers the results. A government that recognizes that ports succeed because of shippers, not slogans. Economies grow because of investment, not ideology. Opportunities materialize because of leadership, not by luck. That is the progressive Conservative vision. We've done it before, and we will do it again. Honourable Speaker, this throne speech encouraged Manitobans to believe in incredible things, but Manitobans do not want. They believe incredible things will happen. They want real results, not recycled promises. They want real leadership, not theatrical language. They want economic growth, not red tape. And they want a government that delivers for the people, not for the photo ops. This throne speech failed that test. And on this side of the House, we will continue to hold this government accountable, not to their rhetoric, but to their results. We will continue to champion agriculture, rural Manitoba, economic growth, and the future that this province deserves. Honourable Speaker, I think it's important that we reflect on this throne speech and realize what exactly it highlights. This is the halfway point of the government mandate. The halfway point should be showing what they've won on, the future, and the vision for our province moving us forward. But instead, they've highlighted their failures. They've highlighted the things that they've promised and couldn't achieve. And their plan for moving forward is more of the same. More of the failed promises, more talking, more studying, and less delivering. Honourable Speaker, Manitoba deserves better. La Vérendrye, the southeast corner of Manitoba, deserves better. We deserve to be recognized for our economic strength and the future that we hold for the entire province. But instead, we've been ignored. Southern Manitoba has been ignored, and all of Manitoba, for that fact, has been ignored. Manitobans deserve better, and we will hold this government to account. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Tyndall Park.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and it's great to have the opportunity here this afternoon and to respond to the government's throne speech. And I just want to begin by sharing how those who I've had the opportunity to speak with so far this week since the throne speech has been released have shared a few thoughts about how the throne speech is a bit redundant, how it's a bit recycled, how some of these new commitments are and have been already happening over the last few years, Honourable Speaker. A few of the other thoughts include how some of the commitments are actually quite difficult to believe, which I'll expand on a little bit more shortly, and how, of course, there's a lot missing, Honourable Speaker. Now, seeing how healthcare is the biggest issue our province is facing, this is where I will begin. On the topic of pharmacare and deductibles, I want to give the example of shingles, something that I have been advocating for here in this House to have the shingles vaccine covered for a few years now, Honourable Speaker. I actually have several constituents who are very passionate about this subject, and that's why I continue to bring it up over the years, and they keep me updated with what is happening here in Manitoba, especially compared to other provinces. The latest numbers show that 1 in 2 people over the age of 65 will experience the pain and burning of shingles in their lifetime. And while provinces like Ontario and Alberta cover the cost for the virus vaccine, Manitobans are still being forced to pay out of pocket. This is something that when the government was in opposition, agreed that we shouldn't be forced to pay out of pocket. And now that they're in government, they have the opportunity to turn this around, but they still have not, and they're not even talking about it, as we saw in the throne speech. Covering shingles is a preventative approach to healthcare and savings. Currently, it costs $300 for 2 vaccines, and this is a high enough cost for many Manitobans, especially those who are on fixed or low incomes, to be able to pony up, Honourable Speaker. Oftentimes, seniors specifically are being forced to choose between meals, between paying rent, or should they get the vaccine. And we know the average cost of the healthcare system for hospitalization due to shingles is $12,000 for a 2-week stay. Again, this would be a low-cost, effective, preventative measure that the government could take, that governments in other provinces, including Alberta and Ontario, have already taken. And my hope is that Manitoba will do the same. The idea of this patient safety charter, Manitobans are confused. I've received emails on this, even up until today, Honourable Speaker. What is it? How is it going to be put into practice? No details were actually released on it. No one was consulted on it. It sounds a little bit like a headline, is what someone had said to me in an email, Honourable Speaker. Healthcare professionals, for example, nursing. We know we need healthcare professionals in every field all across the province, and Manitoba isn't alone in this. But for example, specifically when it comes to nurses, how can the government say that the practice of mandatory overtime for healthcare workers will end and that they will legislate staff-to-patient ratios when we simply do not have enough nurses? Yesterday and today, Darlene Jackson, the president of Manitoba Nurses Union, said in the Winnipeg Free Press how we are still in a nursing shortage. Honourable Speaker, how can the government expect hospitals to meet the government's mandate when there are simply not enough nurses to go around right now? This is an unfair expectation being placed upon nurses here in Manitoba who are already going above and beyond their expectations, Honourable Speaker. This is also what attributes to Manitoba's long wait times. If you Google wait times in Manitoba, you will find article after article after article up until the month of November, in which we are right now, all indicating that wait times have not improved under this government. And in some cases, they've actually gotten worse. They've become longer. So for the government to say that they're getting better, it's inaccurate, Honourable Speaker. Show us some hard numbers where they are getting better, because according to everything that is being released in the media, all the hard facts that are being shared publicly, they are not improving. I want to talk about Seven Oaks Hospital. And I'm glad, and again, I want to give credit when credit is due. I am glad that the government is going to be having 22 new healthcare staff at the hospital. But the government needs to do what they said they were going to do. They campaigned on the promise that they were going to open up the ER at Seven Oaks Hospital. They gained support from those living in the north end of Winnipeg in this last election based off that promise alone. Yet they have not made any traction on this. They haven't even talked about it. And again, another throne speech goes by, and we're yet to hear about any updates or potential movement or traction on the opening of the ER at Seven Oaks Hospital. That hospital has such potential, Honourable Speaker, and I've spoken about this many times in the House. I won't belabor it here this afternoon, but there are floors that are not being fully utilized. There is a helicopter pad on top of the hospital just to show the grandiosity of what it could be, Honourable Speaker. The population in the North End is continuing to grow, and yet the North Enders are feeling very neglected by this government when they promised they were going to bring back the ER, and still no words on plans, even just plans to bring it back, Honourable Speaker. The issue of health cards, plastic versus digital. And again, I want to say it's good to have options. I'm in favor of having both the plastic and the digital option. The upsetting part is the lack of foresight that this government had. Why would the government spend almost $6 million and hire 20 full-time workers for plastic cards to only months later provide the option of digital? I'm willing to bet, Honourable Speaker, that a lot of people, and there were 200,000 people who registered for plastic cards since May, I'm willing to bet a lot of them would have opted for the digital if they would have had that option. So the province could have saved nearly $6 million if they would have had some foresight and potentially rolled out the options together. I do question the government. Were they fiscally responsible with this decision? I asked about it yesterday in question period, and they didn't have an answer. So I'm going to make the argument that they were not. And it seems to be a growing trend with this government. They want the headline. They don't care about the cost to Manitobans. I want to talk about home care, Honourable Speaker. And again, this is something I've spoken about many times in this House. At one point in time, home care was so much more than it is now. A home care worker used to go into a residence and help with everything from shoveling snow to preparing food to even helping with groceries, going to the grocery store with the resident, helping them carry them into the house, unpack them, put them in cupboards. But now, home care, those working in home care are being stretched so incredibly thin that they're having to zip in and out of people's homes, and accidents are happening, Honourable Speaker. I think I've shared this example before, but I have a constituent who shared with me that by accident a home care worker left an element on, the water boiled over, and my constituent was quite blind, and the water boiled over and ended up really harming my constituent. These accidents are happening because home care workers are stretched so thin. They're having to rush from one home to another. And now we're hearing, and it's not just me, I've talked with some of my colleagues here in this House, how home care workers are having to cancel very last minute, even the morning of. We've had constituents share where their home care worker was supposed to come over at something like 10 a.m., Honourable Speaker, and at 9:30 they're receiving a call saying, sorry, you're out of luck today, you're not going to be receiving home care. It's an unfair expectation for our home care workers. The government's throne speech does not consider seniors. I am glad, and again, credit where credit is due, that they are building personal care home beds. But what the government seems to be failing to miss the target on is that personal care home beds is not the only answer. We need to be thinking about long-term care facilities as a whole. That's supportive housing homes, assisted living, 55-plus homes. In some cases, we need more hospices as well, Honourable Speaker. And this is something the government never talks about. And we've put it on their radar, Honourable Speaker. I've raised it in the House many, many times. We need to think broader than just personal care homes because not all seniors fit into that category. We need to be thinking about ensuring that facilities are built all throughout Manitoba to allow for seniors to remain in their communities. We know it is so much better for their health, for their communities, for their loved ones, and unfortunately, seniors are being forced to move all across the province just so they can go into a personal care home that might not exactly suit their needs and away from all of their supports, Honourable Speaker. With respect to day programs, the government said when they were in opposition that they were going to lower the cost of them. This has not happened, and it continues not to be talked about. We can talk about handy transit, Meals on Wheels, how we need to invest more into these resources because we do have a booming senior population here in Manitoba, yet they're not receiving the investments that they need. We're not keeping up with the senior population, Honourable Speaker. And the last comment on seniors is home repairs, something, again, we've been advocating for over the years here in this House. Oftentimes, seniors want to have the ability to remain in their homes, but unfortunately, and again, it comes down to costs. A lot of seniors are on fixed incomes, low incomes, and they cannot afford to put upgrades in their house, whether it be a rail, whether that be a wheelchair ramp, something to help them, a handrail to get in or out of their shower. These are arguably very small upgrades that so many seniors cannot afford that they are forced to leave their homes, their communities, and their loved ones. This is something or a department where the government could really step up and improve the lives of so many seniors in the province, yet it wasn't mentioned at all in the throne speech. There are a couple parts of the throne speech under public safety that are positive, including banning weapons from public spaces. I question the new correctional facility just because some of the language is a little bit unclear, helping people who are ready to turn their lives around. This actually reminds me of youth justice committees that the NDP got rid of. And so I question, what is their motive behind this? What is the intention of these correctional facilities? And none of the details were provided. Is it going to be treated as a correctional facility? Is it going to be treated as a place for mediation or 24-hour holds? I'm looking forward to the government releasing more details on it, Honourable Speaker. It's concerning and, again, very hard to believe in the throne speech that the government says crime rates are down. It doesn't line up with what all of us are seeing in the media, with what all of us are hearing from our constituents. I know at least every day, between the media and constituents, at least every day, MLAs are hearing stories of break-ins, theft, assault, arson. It's all over the province. And again, I don't think it's just Manitoba, I think it's all over Canada. But for the sake of this throne speech from this provincial government, it doesn't line up to say that crime is decreasing, Honourable Speaker. I would challenge this government, any members of this government, go out into your constituency and ask any person at random if they feel crime has improved. I'm willing to bet they'll say no, Honourable Speaker. The stories that we're hearing on a regular basis about Winnipeg Transit, again, it's just there's no evidence pointing to the fact that crime is getting better, not worse, Honourable Speaker. On the topic of public transit, provinces across our country, again including Ontario and Alberta, are making huge investments in public transportation through new sustainable bus fleets, metro, and rail. Transportation is the second highest source of emissions in Manitoba. With no figures being publicly shared and no concrete goals for public transportation, smaller cities in our province continue to struggle to keep their buses operating. Over the summer, the City of Winnipeg elected to remodel its transit system as a response to increasing demands. And advocacy groups, students, seniors, laborers, and healthcare workers have clearly indicated how these changes have negatively impacted their ability to get to work and school on time and safely. The University of Manitoba Student Union released a report as a response to the new system, and 91% of responses were negative. I'm sure other MLAs are hearing from their constituents on this issue too. The province can play a role, and Manitoba actually holds a very unique advantage for hosting industrial leaders in public transportation, such as New Flyer. We have a great opportunity to be more environmental and progressive in public transportation all over our province. I just wish the government would act on it. They need to step up. The government used to act on it. We used to play a much bigger role when it came to transit, not just in Winnipeg, but throughout Manitoba. But this NDP government has taken such a big step back, and they're washing their hands and saying, okay, it's completely up to the City of Winnipeg. I believe the province has a role to play, especially when constituents are reaching out to these MLAs. And my hope is that the MLAs who belong to the government will start standing up for their constituents, Honourable Speaker. The province should provide incentive for the bus rather than just a gas tax removal that doesn't actually help those who need it the most. For example, our homeless population. I don't think the gas tax removal helps them, Honourable Speaker. The government campaigned in 2023 and promised to end homelessness within 8 years. The throne speech says that they're on track because they've moved 100 people from encampments into housing. However, according to End Homelessness Winnipeg and their 2024 census, an estimate of 2,469 individuals in Winnipeg were experiencing homelessness on November 5th, 2024. These numbers simply do not line up with the government saying that they're 25% of the way to end homelessness in 8 years. That does not check out, Honourable Speaker. So again, there's a lot of information in the throne speech that it's very hard to believe is accurate. I'm concerned there are a few big topics that were not even mentioned, Honourable Speaker, and I'm noticing the time. I'll try to be quick here. For example, the provincial nominee program. wasn't even mentioned in the throne speech, Honourable Speaker. They couldn't even take the time as a courtesy to mention the provincial nominee program. Now, since being elected in 2016, almost 10 years, I can speak firsthand to the history of the program here in the House. When I first got elected in 2016, the NDP had just been in power for 17 years. They had destroyed the program. People were waiting 3 to 5 years just to hear if they were going to be accepted into the provincial nominee program. That's asking people to put their lives on hold, asking them, in some cases here in Manitoba, in some cases other countries, to sit tight and wait. Maybe Manitoba will find space for you. Completely inappropriate, Honourable Speaker. Then the Conservative government came into power. This was in 2016, and I was hearing from a lot of constituents it was becoming a very, very big issue. I was feeling very upset that people were having to put their lives on hold for so long that we did a protest. My colleague from Elmwood likes to remind me of this protest. We actually slept on the floor. This was myself and a couple of my assistants. We slept outside of the minister's office overnight, and the minister at the time was Ian Wishart. He was not my biggest fan at the time, but since then we have a very nice relationship now. And we begged, we pleaded, we appealed, we debated why the program needs to change. Now, it did take some time, probably about 8 months to a year, but those wait times went from 3 to 5 years to no more than 3 months. It was incredible, Honourable Speaker. I was no longer being inundated at McDonald's on Saturday with constituents saying, Cindy, I'm waiting to hear back. And Honourable Speaker, I do want to be clear, though, they did implement a $500 head tax. I don't like it. If that's what it took to make the program run, fine, so be it. But again, the NDP, when they were in opposition, they fought this head tax. They said it was terrible. If they ever formed government, they'd get rid of it. They haven't gotten rid of it, Honourable Speaker, and they've been in power now for over 2 years. They won't even talk about it, Honourable Speaker. The minister responsible for immigration, she used to sit on this side of the House and bang on the table and say, get rid of the head tax. Now that she's in government, not a peep, Honourable Speaker. The program is getting worse again. I now have people who are waiting over 1.5 years to find out if they're going to be approved for the provincial nominee program. It's completely unacceptable and seems to be a NDP in government pattern that's forming. It's disappointing that the only comment regarding children in care in the entire throne speech was that the government is listening. The number of children in care in Manitoba has increased for the first time in several years from 8,919 to 9,172. There needs to be more, Honourable Speaker. International student health care wasn't even mentioned in the budget or in the throne speech, Honourable Speaker. The government needs to realize how much international students do for our province, how much they contribute, how other provinces have no problem ensuring that international students have healthcare coverage. In Manitoba, it's shameful. It is completely unacceptable, it is unfair, and we are losing out on some incredible individuals because of this government's decision to ignore international students and break the promise that they made during the election, Honourable Speaker. In closing, I only have about 30 more seconds, Honourable Speaker. I did want to thank the government for their tribute to Darius Hartorn. Darius was a 17-year-old football player at Sisseler High School who recently died from a football injury. Just at McDonald's this past Saturday, I ran into some of his friends who had just come from his funeral wearing his sweater. He was very, very loved in the community, and I think it was a good call to show support for his family and team by investing in a new scoreboard and bleachers in his memory. With those few comments, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to respond to the throne speech. Thank you.
Order, please. Before recognizing any other members, I must caution members that using names is not allowed. You have to refer to members by their constituency name, even if you're referring to yourself. The Honourable Member for Seine River.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I actually want to start by wishing my husband a very happy birthday. I love you. I will play this for you later so you can see that I gave you a shout out, Stephen Cross. It's a privilege to rise today on behalf of the people of Seine River and respond to this year's throne speech. 2 years ago, Manitobans didn't just vote. They sent a message to the last government that Manitobans were done tolerating their neglect and their excuses. They said no more cuts, no more closures, and no more being told to expect less, accept less, and settle for less. Manitobans stood up together and said, "We deserve better." And Honourable Speaker, I'm proud to say they were right and we are doing better. Those families, workers, seniors, students didn't speak out of just anger alone. They spoke out of hope. Hope that this province could be stronger, fairer, safer, more compassionate. Hope that government could once again be a force for good. Hope that the future could look different than the chaos, cuts, and closures they lived through for 7.5 long years. Day after day, as we sit in this chamber, we honor that mandate. We honor their hope, and we honor the work that lies ahead by delivering real, tangible progress. Honourable Speaker, let us speak honestly about what the challenges were that we inherited, because only by acknowledging the truth can we appreciate the scale of the progress being made. The previous PC government closed the only emergency room in South Winnipeg, an emergency room that served over 100,000 people. A decision that touched every corner of my constituency of Seine River, River Park South, St. Norbert, and St. Germain-Vermette. Families who suddenly had nowhere nearby to turn in the face of a crisis. Think about the fear, parents forced to drive across the city with a sick child in the back seat. Think about seniors who waited hours for care that used to be just minutes away. Think about nurses pushed beyond human limits, holding the healthcare system the last government was tearing down. This wasn't unfortunate, it wasn't accidental, it was deliberate and it hurt people. But Honourable Speaker, Manitobans chose a different path and we are delivering on it. Construction will begin shortly on the new Victoria ER, restoring emergency care to South Winnipeg for the first time in years. They closed it, we're reopening it. We have added over 3,500 net new healthcare workers province-wide, and more are coming. We have rebuilt trust with nurses and doctors by respecting the work that they do, and we will modernize care with digital health cards, a secure online patient portal, and expanded prescribing authority so that families can get convenient, timely care at pharmacies and clinics close to home. Honourable Speaker, this isn't patchwork. This is structural repair. This is rebuilding a healthcare system from the ground up after years of deliberate damage, and families in Seine River feel that progress every single day. We're also acting on affordability because the cost pressures facing Manitobans are real. Under the last government, hydro went up, rent went up, taxes went up, and families were told to fend for themselves. Under our government, the story is different. We froze hydro rates, we cut the gas tax, we lowered housing and rental costs, we supported parents with real savings, we helped seniors stay in their homes. We made life more affordable, not less. Honourable Speaker, the PCs drove up bills. We are driving down costs. But the work does not end with affordability or health care. For too long, addiction and public safety were treated as political props rather than a human crisis. The last government talked tough about crime, but delivered nothing for people in the grips of addiction. They ignored the root causes and ignored the people who needed the help the most. Well, we said that's not good enough. And unlike the last government, we backed our words with action. We are creating a protective care model that ensures people using meth are brought to safe, medically supported spaces instead of to the ERs or jails. We are expanding detox and transitional housing so people have somewhere to go when they take that first step towards recovery. We are investing in wraparound supports that will help people rebuild their lives. And we will support targeted enforcement to disrupt the meth supply chain that fuels the violence in our communities. This is real action. This is real leadership. This is what it means to treat addiction like the complex health, social, and community crisis it is. It's not a slogan for fundraising emails. Honourable Speaker, we are also making long overdue investments in our communities that were ignored for far too long. And nowhere is that clearer than in my constituency of Seine River. For years, residents of St. Norbert fought to save the LeMay Forest, an important green space that defines our community. The previous government ignored them. They dismissed local voices, dismissed environmental concerns, dismissed community advocacy. They chose not to listen. We have chosen to protect the LeMay Forest, and pretty soon folks will be able to enjoy a brand new provincial park for generations to come. Across the province, we're improving transportation infrastructure. We are investing in water and wastewater support systems to support growing communities. We are making neighborhoods safer, more accessible, and more resilient. Where the PC shut out communities, we are going to empower them. We do this because we believe in Manitobans. That is the clearest difference between this government and the one that came before it. The PC government didn't just lose trust, they abandoned Manitobans. They didn't believe in public workers, they didn't believe in public services. Time and time again, they proved that they didn't believe in the people they were elected to serve. We do. We believe in the families in River Park South working hard to build a better life. We believe in the seniors in Saint-Germain-Vermette who built this province through decades of contribution and community service. We believe in the young people in our schools who deserve opportunity, not obstacles. We believe in workers, the nurses, the paramedics, the teachers, the farmers, the truck drivers, the small business owners, and the public servants who keep this province moving. Honourable Speaker, the throne speech also reaffirmed a foundational commitment our government has made: reconciliation. For the first time, the speech is being printed and published in Anishinaabe-Moan, as many times as in English and in French. As an Indigenous educator, a Métis woman, and the MLA for Seine River, this matters profoundly to me. My community is home to schools, teachers, and families who work every day to strengthen Indigenous education and reconciliation. They understand that reconciliation begins with truth. It begins with language. It begins with creating space for Indigenous students and families to see their identity, their history, and their future reflected in their classrooms, in their community, and in their government. Elevating Indigenous languages, especially Anishinaabe-Moan, tells the Indigenous youth in this province that their voices and cultures are part of the future we are building together. We're also working hard to strengthen education for every student in Manitoba. This winter, construction will begin on 4 new schools with 402 childcare spaces in River East, Transcona School Division, Pembina Trails, Seven Oaks, and in Brandon. With our updated English language arts curriculum and the rollout of universal early reading screening, we are ensuring that students have the tools they need to learn to read. With 800 new teachers in the classroom, new childcare spaces, in our universal school food program, we are helping more students learn, grow, and graduate. Our next step is reaching the students who are falling through the cracks with the new Reach Out, Reach Up program that will help schools improve attendance and support students who need it the most. As we continue to listen to young people, their parents, educators, and elders, this winter our first One Manitoba Youth Summit will give high school students the opportunities to share their ideas and learn from local leaders who overcame challenges and helped to build this province. As an educator, these investments are deeply meaningful to me, and I'm proud to speak about the progress our government is making for students, teachers, and families, not only in Seine River, but right across Manitoba. Honourable Speaker, the PC's lost faith in Manitobans. We never will. That is why the contrast we face today is so stark and so important to articulate clearly and without apology. The PC's closed ERs. We are reopening them. The PC's drove nurses out. We are hiring them in record numbers. The PC's raised costs. We are lowering them. The PC's ignored addiction. We are delivering real solutions. The PC's shut out communities. We are empowering them. This is not just a different government, it is a different direction. And Honourable Speaker, that direction matters. It matters for every family who struggled under the last government. It matters for every senior who waited too long for care. It matters for every worker who felt undervalued. It matters for every community fighting for attention, for investment, for dignity. Manitobans chose progress, and every single day we are delivering that progress. We cannot go back. We will not go back. Not to ER closures, not to hallway medicine, not to rising bills and shrinking services, not to a government that forgot who it served. We are moving forward. Forward with a new ER for South Winnipeg, forward with stronger health care, forward with safer communities, forward with lower costs, forward with protected green spaces, and forward with a government that listens, acts, and believes in the people of this province. We are not going back. We are going forward together. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Roblin.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It's always such a privilege to get up in this House as the MLA for Roblin and to represent my constituents in this chamber and to speak on their behalf and to convey the priorities of the people of Charleswood and Headingley. And it's a privilege to get up today and speak in response to the NDP's throne speech, a throne speech that's rife with re-announcements and empty promises. Promises that the NDP can't keep and frankly have no intention of keeping. It's the same strategy they deployed during the 2023 election. Say what they think people want to hear, don't worry about their ability to follow through, break those promises, and fingers crossed, hope for the best. And you don't have to take my word for it, Honourable Speaker. Take the word of all the frontline healthcare workers who have publicly shared their doubts and concerns about this government's ability to keep those promises. For example, MAHCP President Jason Linklater, who said, quote, "Without a credible human health resources plan, I think it's very unlikely that there's going to be success." And beyond just the empty promises, this throne speech fails to address the priorities of my constituents in Charleswood and Headingley. There are so many things missing from this throne speech that my constituents were hoping to hear. Number one on that list for many families in the community of Headingley is Phoenix School. And I'm sure everyone in this chamber has heard me read petitions on this and ask questions on this, and that's on top of written correspondence to the minister directly on behalf of my constituents. It is a very real issue. To recap, Phoenix School is in dire need of a renovation and expansion. It's bursting at the seams. A renovation project was approved by the previous government. Work was underway. When the NDP came into power, what did they do? They canceled it. And they have not given the school division any indication of when they can expect that project to proceed. It remains the #1 capital priority of the St. James Assiniboia School Division. And this government calls itself a listening government, isn't listening at all. Nada. Very disappointing to see that missing from this throne speech. Closely related, daycare spaces. This is an issue that matters to so many young families in my constituency. Families who rely on childcare to get back to work. And this throne speech made it clear there is no childcare coming to Headingley or Charleswood under this NDP government. It's incredibly disappointing. I take phone calls in my constituency office every week from parents who are desperate, whose maternity or paternal or parental leaves are ending, and they don't know how they're going to go back to work because they don't have childcare. Families who had infant or preschool spaces but can't secure school-age childcare spaces and now have to find spaces for their children in communities far away. It's incredibly stressful for these families and incredibly disheartening to see that we have an NDP government that's not listening to them at all. Affordability is the #1 concern for many of my constituents, and there was not a single affordability measure in this throne speech. This is the same NDP government, let's not forget, that promised to crack down on grocery retailers if grocery prices didn't go down. The Premier was very tough. He shook his fist and said, oh, we're going to crack down on those grocery retailers. And now look where we are. Manitoba leads the country in food inflation. Families cannot afford to put groceries on their table. And we know that because food bank usage in Manitoba is 3 times the national average. And my constituency is no exception to that. There are many families in Charleswood and Headingley that are struggling, Honourable Speaker. And what is this government going to do for them? Well, they're going to do a study. A study. This is 2 years after they promised to bring grocery prices down. It's absolute nonsense, Honourable Speaker.
Nonsense. Pants on fire.
Crime is another issue that matters to the people of Charleswood and Headingley, and it's completely unaddressed in this throne speech. Let's not forget, this is the same government that said they were going to implement bail reform in their first 100 days. How many days are we at now? Hundreds and hundreds of long, terrible days of NDP government and no action on bail reform. Why? Because it's a federal responsibility. He could never do it, but he said he could because he thought that's what people wanted to hear. And that's the pattern we're seeing from this Premier and from this NDP government, and we're seeing it all over this throne speech. Business owners, many of whom live in my constituency, have been impacted by rampant crime. And residents of Charleswood and Headingley are deeply concerned from a safety perspective and from a humanitarian perspective about the homelessness crisis in our city. Homelessness has only gotten worse under the NDP. It's a very serious problem, and the government has not executed its strategy well, with the person in charge of the strategy quitting, pulling up stakes and leaving this government after less than a year in the job. That is not a vote of confidence in this Premier or this cabinet or their ability to actually end homelessness in this city like they promised to do. And now I want to talk about health care.
Please.
We can't forget, this is an NDP government that ran an election entirely on health care. They made wild, empty promises and have broken all of them, Honourable Speaker. And this throne speech offers more of the same. It doesn't make any sense to me that before they've even met their previous commitments, now they're out here making 1,000 more commitments that they have no intention of keeping. There are so many failures on the healthcare file by this government. It's going to take me a few minutes to go through them.
Okay, we'll wait.
ER wait times in the city of Winnipeg are at a record high. They have gotten measurably, demonstrably worse under this NDP government. And that's not even mentioned in the throne speech. There's nothing in this throne speech to address the fact that if you go to an ER in the city of Winnipeg right now, you will be waiting longer than ever before. And that's to say nothing of rural ERs. While the Premier was in here crowing about rural ERs and Carberry on throne speech day, guess what was going on in Carberry? The ER was closed. Oh. That was quite the juxtaposition. Diagnostic wait times are higher under this NDP government. The current wait for an MRI at Health Sciences Centre, 41 weeks. That's a long time, Honourable Speaker. You'd think that this government would look at something like that and think, maybe we should expand MRI capacity in the province. Maybe we should look to a community that's getting a brand new hospital that has space for an MRI and a community that's come forward with funding. I know where that is. It's Portage-la Prairie. But there's nothing about a Portage-la Prairie MRI in this throne speech, and I don't need to expound on that because I'm confident my colleague from Portage-la Prairie will speak about that at length when he has a turn to address the chamber. Surgical wait times are up under the NDP. The current wait time for a knee replacement, 41 weeks. Cataracts, in Brandon, you're now waiting 27 weeks. That's way up from 7 weeks a year ago. Again, things are trending in the wrong direction. I was also very concerned that there was nothing in the throne speech to address home care. which is a disaster of the NDP's own making. To recap, earlier this year, the NDP centralized home care scheduling in the WRHA against the advice of frontline home care workers. They dismissed those frontline workers' concerns when we raised them here in the legislature. They said it was wrong, they said it was fear-mongering, and they forged ahead. The result? Thousands of canceled and missed visits. Then it got so bad that the health minister felt the need to go out onto the grand staircase and apologize and promise to backpedal and fix all of the mistakes that they made.
And break it some
But
more.
nothing's been done, Honourable Speaker. Those schedulers have not been repatriated to community offices, and even worse, I've spoken with home care case coordinators in the city who have told me there are hundreds of home care clients in this city who have been assessed as needing home care services and have been waiting up to 200 days for a visit from a home care worker. This has implications for the whole of the home care system. If people can't get discharged from hospital back to their home with the support of home care, guess what? They're stuck in the hospital. And then people in the ER can't move up to the wards. And then people in the ER waiting room can't get into the ER. This is an urgent problem that requires an urgent solution, and there is no urgency, not even any action from this NDP government. HSC is still grey listed after 3 long months, and as we speak, nurses are voting on whether to grey list Thompson General Hospital.
Say it ain't so.
It's no surprise this is a health minister that's received a grade of D- from the Manitoba Nurses Union. In fact, the Manitoba Nurses Union's Grade Your Government survey found most nurses reported no improvement or worsening healthcare under this government. And one of the more egregious omissions from this throne speech is the lack of a credible staffing plan. It's been 2 years. There's absolutely no reason that the government hasn't put forward some kind of plan to recruit, to retain, and to train healthcare staff with measurable targets. Prairie Mountain Health has a 30% vacancy rate for nurses, 650 nursing vacancies in PMH, and yet, this is unbelievable. What did the Premier say? He said, Manitoba has enough nurses. It defies belief, Honourable Speaker. He's ready to hang up the mission accomplished banner. We have enough nurses. No one agrees with him.
Battleship.
Not nurses, not doctors, not allied healthcare professionals, and certainly not Manitoba patients who are waiting longer than ever in Manitoba's emergency rooms, waiting longer than ever for surgeries and diagnostics. It's unbelievable that this Premier thinks there are enough nurses in Manitoba.
Shameful.
And why did he say that? He was trying to justify new laws that are proposed in this throne speech. New laws that sound great on paper, but are simply not credible.
What's wrong with them?
The key stakeholders that these promises are intended to benefit have publicly cast doubt on the NDP's ability to fulfill them.
Shame.
On the promise to end mandatory overtime, MNU President Darlene Jackson told the media, right now, we do not have enough nurses to actually make that happen. And until we are fully staffed, it's going to be very difficult to say no mandating. She also said, I would love nothing better than to see an end to mandating, but I don't think we're in a position now where we can legislate an end and still have a functioning health care system. That's very concerning for Manitoba patients. A Winnipeg Free Press columnist also said of the promised legislation, quote, does a patient who waits 12 hours in an ER have recourse? Can someone who doesn't see their family doctor for months because there aren't enough in their region file a complaint that triggers an investigation?
Nope.
If a hospital routinely runs short-staffed, does someone get penalized, fired? Unquote. It's just proof upon proof that this legislation, these ideas put forward in this throne speech have no teeth, no details, they're completely unworkable, they're just sound bites and slogans, and that has become the hallmark of this NDP government. Manitobans deserve so much better. They deserve leadership, results, and action, and a dose of pragmatism. Rather than promising the world, promise what you can actually deliver. Create some targets. Measure progress. Be transparent about it. Instead, they got a throne speech full of promises that this NDP government never intends to keep.
Never.
Just like in the last election, when they promised the moon, and over the last 2 years have entirely failed to deliver. I am confident Manitobans will see through this facade. Certainly, on behalf of the constituents of Roblin, I say this throne speech fails to address the priorities of Manitobans. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The honourable member for Kirkfield Park.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. It's truly an honour to be here today and to just, go over Manitobans' feelings about our awesome throne speech. And I'm excited to share, all the great things that our government's doing to help people in Manitoba. Just over 2 years ago, Manitobans, they placed their trust in us, not just to govern, but to lead with dignity, compassion, and purpose. And this year's throne speech is proof that we are carrying that mandate forward. We are fixing healthcare, we are making life more affordable, we're supporting young people, and we're building a safer, stronger community across our province. And before I ever imagined standing in this chamber, I worked as a juvenile correctional officer and counselor, and that work showed me what happens when systems fail young people. And Honourable Speaker, there's not too many folks in this chamber who has witnessed seeing a young person struggling, being high on methamphetamines, and it's heartbreaking to see. And I'm so proud to be part of a government that recognizes that these folks need help, and we're taking action to move the needle on that. My journey has always been rooted in care. Care for children, care for struggling families, care for people who feel unseen or unheard. And that work continues today as I am the MLA for Kirkfield Park. And, on today, particularly being Transgender Day of Remembrance, I'm really aware of how privileged I am to stand here as a transgender man in a world that's actively persecuting transgender people. And so I feel like I have a responsibility to share a little bit more about our throne speech and, the fact that it really promotes people's freedoms and people's freedoms to be who they are. Look at me, Honourable Speaker. I'm the definition of freedom in this country. I get to live and be who I am as my authentic self every single day. And I don't take that for granted. I'm very, very fortunate. But in Manitoba, children are free to pursue gender-affirming care, and that is so important. That's life-saving work. Decisions being made by patients with their families and with the advice of medical experts. Families don't need politicians in the room with them when they're making decisions about their children's future. Honourable Speaker, I'm just so proud to represent Kirkfield Park, and I met many families from Kirkfield Park, families from other communities in Manitoba who have family members who are trans, who are gender diverse. They exist in all corners of our province. And we can't pick and choose who we represent here, Honourable Speaker. We were elected to represent all Manitobans, and that includes transgender Manitobans. And I'm so grateful to be led by a premier who truly understands that, affirming, especially a young person's identity, is life-saving. It's life-saving work. And we're talking about healthcare, and in Kirkfield Park we have our Grace Hospital. It's not just a facility in Kirkfield Park, it really is the backbone of care in our community. And I live in Kirkfield Park and I rely on that hospital. I even walked myself down to the emergency room about 10 years ago to have my gallbladder removed, so it's very convenient. And it's a really great place, and the folks who work there, they have nothing but care, for folks, and they're such a great team. They also have the Access Winnipeg West, which is fantastic, and it now offers the extended hours primary care clinic, which really takes some of that pressure off the emergency room at the Grace Hospital. So folks really do have options. Our government is working hard to support Manitobans and the healthcare workers who keep these sites running. And I've had many opportunities to go to the Grace Hospital and speak with healthcare workers, speak with the great folks at the Grace Hospital Foundation. And one thing that's very apparent is that they all really care deeply about the work that they do, and they want to make sure that everyone that comes into their care experiences, that compassion, experiences, that level of care that we all expect. And I know that the folks, the good people at Grace Hospital, whether they're cleaning the hallways, changing the beds, or changing your IV, those folks are genuinely invested in helping other people. And it's just so evident when you go to that hospital. Well, the extended hours primary care clinic at the Access Winnipeg West, it's fully connected to the Grace Hospital, and it's now open 365 days a year, Honorable Speaker, including holidays, which is fantastic. It's staffed by registered nurses and nurse practitioners who can diagnose and treat non-emergency medical issues for anyone in Manitoba that has a Manitoba health card. This clinic is providing exactly what families in Kirkfield Park have been asking for: real options, real access, and real relief. It means parents don't have to spend hours waiting at the Grace Hospital emergency room for a minor issue. It means seniors can see a healthcare professional after regular clinic hours without delaying care. It means someone with a sore throat, a minor infection, a persistent cough, or a sudden concern can receive treatment the same evening, not days or weeks later. And that's really, it's good to know in the back of your mind, if something goes wrong at home or wherever you are in the community, that you have a hospital that you can rely on, and folks there are committed to your health care. Because good care shouldn't depend on timing, and it shouldn't come at the cost of overwhelming emergency rooms. And I'm super proud, Honorable Speaker, to have talked to so many healthcare workers who are excited about the 3,500 new healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, paramedics, who show up every single day for us at our most vulnerable moments. Our government is also supporting the workers inside the hospital, the nurses, doctors, support staff, and paramedics who've been carrying the system on their backs for many years. I've met them at the doorstep, Honorable Speaker. I've talked to them in person, and they are really relieved that they have a government that's finally listening to them and taking their concerns seriously and not shutting them out. We established Manitoba's first ever patient safety charter because safety shouldn't be something workers have to fight for. It should be guaranteed. This matters in Kirkfield Park, Honorable Speaker. Grace Hospital workers deserve dignity, respect, and support. Patients deserve timely care and a safe environment. And families deserve to know when they walk through those doors, whether for urgent care, diagnostics, or follow-up treatment, they will receive the care that is reliable and accessible and truly a patient-centered process. And now we're making that access even easier with MediNav, a total game changer for folks here in Manitoba. Right at your fingertips, you can access booking an appointment with a physician or a nurse practitioner, and it really is convenient for folks. Most of us are on our handheld cell phone devices. I know a few folks across the way are always on them. And you can access that care as opposed to going and sitting and waiting for potentially hours. So that's really awesome. MediNav lets Manitobans see same day and next day appointments at clinics across the province. and book at a time and a location that's really works best for them. So they're not calling multiple clinics. No more hoping someone picks up the phone, just fast, convenient access to primary care, Honorable Speaker, MediNav.
Order, please. When this matter is again before the House, the honourable member will have 10 minutes remaining. The hour being 5 p.m., this House is adjourned and stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.